Hello, my Richies, and welcome back to another episode of the Make Life Rich Movement podcast. My name is Sarah. I'm your host. And in today's episode, we are going over the books that I am reading for the remainder of the year. It's been a while since I've given you a book episode, and I'm so pleased to bring all of these titles to you today. There is a lot to be said about wintertime, the darkness, the change of time, moving forward with just like the clock changes and everything, and the coziness that winter provides for tons of reading. So if you are looking for a book or two to pick up for the remainder of this year, I have a ton of suggestions for you, and we're going to dive right into it. So the first book is one that I grabbed at a local thrift store. Finding Hope in Life's Losses, Beyond the Valley. This is the 10th anniversary edition. It is by Dave Brannon. This is a Christian book that is basically commenting on grief. And the author had lost his daughter in a car accident, and he wrote this book to kind of commemorate his grief journey after her passing and all of the lessons that he had learned alongside God throughout this process. I'm very excited to read this. I have definitely read my share or two of grief books, but I haven't read one that was written with the guise of having God's infinite love and wisdom being with you every step of the way through that grief journey. So if you are in a state of grief, or you know someone that is, and they find themselves of the religious tendency, then this might be a really beautiful book for you to get them this Christmas. It is still in print. It is published through Our Daily Bread. You can absolutely access this on their website, as well as probably find it in a library, but it's a quick read. It's only about 200 pages, and I really think that if you find yourself in a place of grief and you're just really looking for a little bit of hope, a little bit of understanding, someone's grief to process your own grief through, I think that this book is going to be perfect for that. The next book on our list is Andy Weir's Project Hail Mary, rather. This is a sci-fi epic. I've been trying to give myself a little bit of fiction to read these days. I have been very deeply entrenched within religious history and religious writings, teachings, the Bible, etc., for at least the last year. And every now and then, I just like to give myself a little bit of a break and just read something for leisure. So Project Hail Mary is that book that I'm going to be tackling for the remainder of the year as my leisurely book. I'll read the synopsis for you. Ryland Grace is a sole survivor on a desperate last chance mission, and if he fails, humanity and Earth itself will perish. Except that right now, he doesn't know that. He can't even remember his own name, let alone the nature of his assignment or how to complete it. All he knows is that he's been asleep for a very long time, and he's just been awakened to find himself millions of miles from home with nothing but two corpses for company. His crewmate's dead, his memories fuzzily returning. Rylan realizes that an impossible task now confronts him. Hurtling through space on this tiny ship, he must puzzle out an impossible scientific mystery and conquer an extinction-level threat to our species. And with the clock ticking down to the nearest human being light years away, he's got to do it all alone. Or does he? Project Hail Mary is a tale of discovery, speculation, and survival to rival the Martian, while taking us to places it never dreamed of. I'm really pumped to read this. She's a thickie, okay? This is a thick book. About 488 pages. So if you are needing time for a larger chunk like this might be the perfect book for you to end the rest of the year with. I've heard a lot of really great things about it. I bought it at one of my local coffee shops. Shout out to Astara's. They have an amazing book collection that they sell within their cafe. And you can absolutely grab this book anywhere that books are sold. Sorry, the critters are crittering right now. The next book you may want to pick up, if you are new to religion and the Bible, this is a really beautiful translation that a friend of mine, Katie, asked me to pick up for her Bible study that she's going to be starting. It is the Passion Translation of the New Testament. It has Psalms, Proverbs, and Song of Songs. It's the 2020 edition. It is beautifully written. It's very easy to read, very easy to digest and comprehend. Comes with a ton of footnotes. And let's just give a little brief synopsis of how this translation iterates the Bible. The Passion Translation is a modern, easy-to-read Bible translation that unlocks the passion of God's heart and expresses his fiery love, merging, emotion and life-changing truth. This translation will evoke an overwhelming response in every reader, unfolding the deep mysteries of the Scriptures. If you are hungry for God, the Passion Translation will help you encounter his heart and know him more intimately. Fall in love with God all over again. I grabbed this on Amazon. It was pretty cheap. It's a really great hardcover. It's actually beautiful as well. I love it. I am going to utilize this for when I'm reading in coffee shops. I'm not worried about it getting a little icky. I can wipe it down right away. And it's just more easy of a translation to read through a little bit more casually and still get a lot of the footnotes and understandings of what you're reading without needing to break out a dictionary or head to the Truthfully app to get yourselves some translations on what exactly it all means through the scriptures. So shout out to Katie, absolutely loving this and can't wait for our Bible study. It's been a busy season, but hopefully we'll get that going soon. And then next book I grabbed at a thrift store. So I'm not too sure the whereabouts of this book, but if you can find it, I suggest reading it. I'm reading it to prepare for Christmas. I'm not really a fan of Christmas, never have been. My family grew up quite poor. It always really saddened me once I realized Santa wasn't real, that my parents were spending so much money on presents that I could have literally cared less about when we were struggling so hard for so many other things that were very much real life. And as a new Catholic, someone go through OCIA right now, I am absolutely ecstatic to start the Advent season on December 1st, and I cannot wait to celebrate Christmas with Christ at the center and just overjoyed that that is happening for me. So if you would like to learn more about the origination of Christmas, rather through the scope and view of Christ, then you may want to read this book. It's called Starlight, Beholding the Christmas Miracle All Year Long by John Shea. And here is the synopsis for this beautiful book. Oh, actually, wait. Let's just read a review because there isn't a synopsis. John Shea picks Christmas up carefully like a shining decorative glass Christmas tree ball, then tosses it high in the air, calling out, "Look!" Yuletide magic suspends Christmas like a delicate glass ball, and while it floats there, Shea points out its many sparkling features. And boy, are you going to be glad. It's early, but what a great gift for giving. So I would imagine you can probably find this puppy on Amazon, potentially in a library. But if you are learning and looking to learn more about Christmas and its originations and all the beauty and magic that Christmas has in store for you with religious focus, then you might want to pick this book up. Again, Starlight, Beholding the Christmas Miracle All Year Long by John Shea. And it's not too thick. It's about 180 pages. Okay, after that, we have We Will Not Be Silenced by Erwin Lutzer. This is a book discussing Christian values and the way in which they are being persecuted around the world and throughout America. So let's read the synopsis. Every day, you watch America turn further from Christian values and the core principles of liberty. It's frustrating to feel you can't assert biblical truth without facing condemnation, and frightening to witness outrage and victimhood replace respect and reason. Amidst this dissent, how can you not only stay rooted in your faith, but continue to publicly testify for Jesus? We Will Not Be Silenced, Dr. Erwin Lutzer prepares you to live out your convictions against a growing tide of hostility, gain a better understanding of non-believers' legitimate hurts and concerns regarding issues like racism, sexism, and poverty, and identify the toxic responses secular culture disguises as solutions. In the process, you'll see how you can show compassion and gentleness to those outside of the faith without affirming their beliefs. We Will Not Be Silenced will ready you to move beyond fear and boldly accept the challenge of representing Christ to a watching world that needs him now more than ever. Very, very, very excited to read this. I know nothing about the author. I am trying to learn more about Christian persecution. As a new Christian, this whole entire topic is very new to me. And also considering the fact that I just realized the majority of the wars ever fought in this world were all fought because of religion secretly and disguised as political regimes or political movements, I'm extremely interested in getting this person's take and learning a little bit more about some of the underlying causes that have led to such persecution of the church. Again, I know nothing about this person. I just grabbed this puppy from the library and I am actually reading this one first. Stay tuned to my stories if you're interested. I'll be giving a little review there. But if you are interested in learning more about the Christian persecution and maybe what lies at the heart of the secular nation, just really wanting to disarm Christianity at its core, this book may help you on that journey. The next book up is The Long Loneliness, the autobiography of the legendary Catholic social activist Dorothy Day. I literally know nothing about Dorothy Day except for a line from Grease. where Sandy is compared to Dorothy Day in a rather satirical manner. And I just picked it up because I found it really interesting, just the sheer movement of her involvement within the Catholic Church. Here is a synopsis. When Dorothy Day died in 1980, the New York Times eulogized her as a nonviolent social radical of luminous personality. Founder of the Catholic worker movement and leader for more than 50 years in numerous battles of social justice. Here, in her own words, this remarkable woman tells of her early life as a young journalist in the crucible of Greenwich Village, political and literary thought in the 1920s, and of her momentous conversion to Catholicism that meant the end of a bohemian lifestyle and common law marriage. The Long Loneliness chronicles Dorothy Day's lifelong association with Peter Maurin and the genesis of the Catholic worker movement. Unstinting in her commitment to peace, nonviolence, radical justice, and the cause of the poor and the outcast, she became an inspiration to such activists as Thomas Merton, Michael Harrington, Daniel Barrington, Cesar Chavez, and countless others. This gripping story of courage and commitment in the midst of terrifying events will linger in your mind. So this autobiography, again, don't know too much about her, but I found it interesting from the cover and I wanted to dive in. I also got this at the library. You may be able to find it there, but it is also on Amazon. This one I'm very excited to bring to you. It is called Grace Interlaced, and it is written by one of my most treasured educators and teachers I had throughout my life, Dr. Virginia Hesslinga. Here is the synopsis. Virginia sits on the concrete sidewalk, leaning against a neighbor's house as her own house burns down. She is the babysitter and big sister. She is supposed to ensure the safety of her charges. But now, alone, staring at nothing, she begins to feel the consequences of having rescued only 2 of the 3 children. She wishes she had died in the struggle to get them out. The fire causes Virginia to disconnect from emotions, lose trust in crucial relationships, and build a protective wall around her heart. Only God's repeated interventions can break through. Grace Interlaced is a story of hope and courage amidst a family tragedy and its impact on life. Ginny Hesslinga has shared honestly her story of the pain and tragedy that shaped her life and family. This is a testimony of God who loves us more than we could ever imagine and blesses us with his grace. This moving retelling encourages us to look for God's interlacing of grace in our own stories. I love this woman with all of my heart. She was so special to me in my youth. Through such tumultuous and grief-stricken times within my childhood, this woman was a ray of light, and I had absolutely no idea that this was her past. I am so excited to read this book. She is an absolute godsend and a treasure. She has always been such a magical, light-filled soul, and to know that this lied at the heart of her core, I just cannot wait to learn more about her. And I'm just so thankful that she shared this and her story and her conviction for God in the way in which he can open the saddest and most hardened of hearts through tragedy and trauma. And I'm very excited to read it. So you can purchase this directly from her on her website, or you can buy it on Amazon. I purchased this, and I encourage you to support her as an independent author. Just thank you, Mrs. Hesslinga. I'm so excited to read this. And then finally, The King and the Catholics, England, Ireland, and the Fight for Religious Freedom from 1780 to 1829 by Antonia Fraser. She also wrote Marie Antoinette. Let's get a little synopsis of this puppy. So, fun fact, my mother is English, my father is Irish, my grandparents always had some weird arguments, anecdotes, feelings, thoughts, etc. about one another, and I just never understood it, and we never really learned about it in school because I went to public schools. In picking this book up, I was really interested to learn more about this whole situation, this whole scenario, this whole journey. In the summer of 1780, mob violence swept through London. Nearly 1,000 people were killed, looting was widespread, and torch-bearing protesters marched down the Prime Minister's residence at 10 Downing Street. These were the Gordon Riots, the worst civil disturbance in British history, triggered by an act of Parliament designing to loosen 2 centuries of systematic oppression of Catholics in the British Isles. While many Londoners saw their homes ransacked and chapels desecrated that summer, the riots marked a crucial turning point in the Catholics' campaign to return to public life. Over the next 50 years, factions battled one another to reform the laws of the land. Wealthy English Catholics yearned to rejoin the political elite. The Protestant aristocracy in Ireland feared an empowered Catholic populace, and the priesthood coveted its old authority that had been stripped by royal decree. King George III and George IV stubbornly refused to address the Catholic question, even when pressed by their prime ministers, causing several governments to fall, and events in America and Europe made many skeptical of disrupting the social order. But in 1829, through the dogged work of charismatic Irish Lord Daniel O'Connell, and with the support of Duke of Wellington, the Roman Catholic Relief Act finally passed. It was a watershed moment, opening the door to future social reform and the radical transformation of the Victorian age. The King and the Catholics is a gripping example of narrative history at its best. It's also a distant mirror to our own times, reflecting the dire consequences of state-sanctioned intolerance and showing how collective action and the political process can triumph over wrong-headed legislation. Really excited to read this. Very much excited to learn the history behind this and get to know my ancestors a little bit better and what their religious struggles were. And I got this from the library. You can probably grab this on Amazon as well as her website, and I would imagine your library might have it too. My Richies, that's it. This was a short episode. I just wanted to give you a rundown of books if you're looking for one to hop onto for the remainder of the year. I would love to know some books that you're reading. So if you have one that you really enjoy, you think I might enjoy, please feel free to leave a comment on Spotify or YouTube. You can also DM me or email me. It's in the show notes. As always, my Richies, it's an absolute pleasure to have your time and your attention. I thank you so much for watching this show. Please share this with a book lover you know that may be interested in some of these titles. And as always, make life rich. God bless.